Welcome to the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast, brought to you by GuitarZoom.com. If you want to improve your guitar playing, keep listening. If you want to improve even faster, go to GuitarZoom.com, where you'll find all of Steve's premium courses, masterclasses, and memberships that'll help you quickly and easily improve your playing. Now here's your host, Steve Stine.
All right, so what I'd like to do is offer you some other opportunities to play some chords in different places that maybe you're not as familiar with. So I'm going to show you just a brief introduction to what we refer to as the CAGED system, which is a way of combining the C, A, G, E, and D chords, literally in that order, CAGED, across the fretboard to be able to better see how to connect chords all the way across instead of just in various different places. Now, I don't expect you to sit and study this entire thing and that's all you do, but I want to give you the opportunity. So the way this works is, if you think about it, I can play a C chord all over the fretboard, anywhere I want, or an E chord or a B flat chord or anything like that. But what this does is it gives you a system of being able to connect them all together. So let's say, for instance, this C chord. What it does is it contains some open strings, right? So if I wanted to play this as a bar chord, I'd have to move up and bar, and move up and bar, and move up and bar. If I wanted to do it with an E chord, which you know, that's our 6-string bar chord, right? But if I want to do it with an E chord, I'd have to move up and bar, right? If I want to do it with a D chord has a space, so if I moved up, I'd have to bar back here, okay? So what that means is technically any open chord can be moved around with a bar. It's just some of them physically are really tough to do, right? Well, with the CAGED system and with soloing, our job isn't really to make the shape, it's to visualize the shape. So if you think about it, if I took the chords C, A, G, E, and D, the CAGED system, okay, and I laid them out on the guitar, I want you to see this. If I took the C chord, which is in its natural position, and where my third finger is, if I barred over that and made the A shape of the CAGED, which is our 5th-string bar chord, that would be the next connecting C shape, or C chord, excuse me. So the C shape of the C chord, the A shape creates a C chord. Now where this finger is, I'm going to bar over that, and I'm going to make a G chord with my other 3 fingers. Now, this isn't easy to do, and again, I'm not telling you that you need to learn to play it, although that might be nice. What we want to do is visualize it, but just listen. So there's another C chord using the G shape. So the C shape, the A shape, and the G shape all create the sounds of C. Now where these guys are, I'm going to bar over that and make the E shape, which is our 6-string bar chord, which we know. And then where these fingers are, I'm going to bar the bottom 4 for now. I'm going to make the D shape, and again, it's going to sound like C, okay? So the trick behind the CAGED system is it doesn't matter where you begin, okay? You just keep going. So C, A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E, D. So let's say I started with an E chord of the CAGED. These fingers here is where the next chord, which is the D, that would go. And then where this is, we'd have to start all over because we're at CAGED, we're at the end on the D. So if you look at these 3 fingers, I'm going to bar here and make the C chord. And the sound is going to be E. So E being made with the E shape, E being made with the D shape, E being made with the C shape, E being made with the A shape, E being made with the G shape, and then E being made with the E shape, and then we'd be back on our octave again after that. Right here. So that's the basic premise of the CAGED system. Now, that's not always easy for people to understand. And again, in this course, what I'm trying to do is make things easier for you to understand. So a really great way of approaching this is if you know a 6-string bar chord and or if you know a 5th-string bar chord, what I want to do is give you a little shortcut right now. Okay, let's just pick a chord. It doesn't matter. Let's just say we had a B major bar chord. Okay, there it is on the 6th string. Okay, a nice shortcut is if you know your 6-string bar chord, what you can do is just understand that above you is the D shape and below you is the G shape. Now, what good does that do you? Well, think about it. If I was soloing over this B chord, Okay, I have B major, which I could totally use. But again, what I want to do is I want to try and emphasize some notes from each one of these, right? So as this is being played, I can visualize those notes, but I can also visualize down here or up here with that shape up here. So that's a nice shortcut, is just being able to take what you already know, which is a 6-string bar chord, and just see the 2 on the outsides of it. That's a great place to start. If you know your 5th string bar chords, let's go to an E on the 5th string. Here's an E on the 5th string. If you know that, okay, then what you can do is below this shape, okay, is your C, and above this shape is the G. So it's an easy way of finding those. I love this C shape. Now, not that I play it as a chord all the time, but I love the sound that I use over that. So again, it's just another idea that you could use for chord shapes. So you could study the entire CAGED idea, if that makes sense to you. And if not, just grab an idea of how to expand it around your 6-string bar chord, or how to expand it around a 5th-string bar chord, and just use that for the time being. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about with you are some alternative ways of visualizing and playing across your fretboard. Instead of just always playing in a scale format, what we're going to do now is we're going to start looking at cutting through in different ways and playing more horizontally, okay, or more linear, if you will.
If you're enjoying this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, go to GuitarZoom.com and consider becoming a premium member. There are 3 memberships to choose from. VIP, which gives you instant access to a library of short but powerful courses, as well as new bite-sized lessons each month. There's also Play Songs that gives you step-by-step lessons so you can learn to play your favorite songs fast. And finally, there's Masterclass, university-level training on everything from soloing to music theory, from blues to home recording. For more info about these memberships and all the premium courses available to you, go to GuitarZoom.com. Now back to the podcast.
The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about intervals, or what we refer to as arpeggios. Now, an interval is just a distance between 2 notes. I have a term I call intervallic playing, which doesn't really mean a lot, except that I'm very conscious when I'm playing that I'm not always trying to play all the notes in sequence, because if I do, it just sounds like a scale when I play. So I'm conscious of jumping over different notes to create larger sounding intervals at times, not always, but at times. And I'm going to show you some of those things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the term arpeggio, okay, which means broken chord. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to play major arpeggios in different places across the guitar and minor arpeggios. And this might help you a little bit, again, in breaking out of that scalular form all the time. Now, we've already talked about how we can target chords by visualizing them and things like that, but let's actually look at what's going on with the chord. So if I was to look at the G chord, for instance, no matter where I play that G major chord across the guitar, I'm always playing the notes G, B, and D, which is the root, the 3rd, and the 5th of whatever scale we're in. Now again, don't let that theory confuse you if you don't understand that. But as I'm playing this G chord, it consists of the notes G, B, and D, and then G, B, and D. Sorry, D. Okay? So anytime we're making a chord, we're using those 3 notes over and over and over in different ways. Now, we're not going to talk about 7ths and 9ths and 11ths and all those things. That's not our worry. We just want to focus on the G major chord, G, B, and D, the root, the 3rd, and the 5th, the triad, okay? Those 3 notes. And we're creating what's called an arpeggio. So what I want to do is give you 3 different ways that you can approach playing, and you can do this over any chord anytime you want. So let's use G as our example for now. So G, I could play here, G, B, and D. Okay, so I'm calling this moving to the left. I'm moving to the left. and I can play those 3 notes. So if I was going to go and do something, okay, then we're going to call this one over the center. Okay, over the center I'm playing. So it's the same notes, but it looks different. And then to the right. So we can always play to the left, over the center, and to the right, okay? Now let's say I was going to play over the C chord, right? So here's C on the 6th string. So I can play to the left, over the center, or to the right. Let's say I was playing a 5th string bar chord. Let's go to E. Okay, I could play to the left, over the center, to the right. You see, it works exactly the same way. Now, the hard part is when you get to the 4th string and the 3rd string. When you get to the 4th string, let's say I wanted to find the note G on the 4th string, and I wanted to play the major arpeggio. I could play G, B. Now, it's going to look a little different because of the tuning between the G and the B strings. Here it looked like this. There was 2 frets in between. I was playing 3, 2, 0, right? Now, because of that tuning, it's going to look like this. This one looks the same, and this one looks the same. See that? Now let's say I found a G on the, up here. Okay, so I find G on the 3rd string right here. So I have to find the 3rd and the 5th. Now it's going to look different again. Sorry. Okay, they're right there. Now when I play over the center, it's going to look like this. And if I play over here, so you can see how as I move further toward the floor of on the guitar, the shapes look a little more wacky as I keep going. Now that doesn't mean that you can't learn them. Again, I just want you to grab something that makes sense. If you know your 6-string bar chord, it's always nice to just find a couple that you can figure out around that chord that you can use. Yeah, you can go into learning every possible position on the guitar, which again, we as humans tend to do, but what I'm most concerned with is you just find a couple that you can actually use. You don't have to find them on every single string ever and try and do that, okay? So let's say, for instance, let's use this in a real-world perspective. So if I was playing a G chord, I very much would use something like this. Or this. There's a G right there, right? It's an octave of that. So I might take that now notice how I'm using the arpeggio, I'm using that triad, if you will, but I'm not just playing that. I'm trying to add things around it. Once I've played intervallically, jumping over things, I try and add some stuff in between again. But I visualize these various arpeggios. And if all of a sudden a C chord came up, well, I'd have to look and go, well, where do I see a C chord? Well, I see one here, right? Okay. Or wherever it is I'd like to see a C chord. I can see C chords all over the place and just decide what would be the best place to be. Then back on my G, for instance. So sometimes when you solo, instead of just thinking about playing the scale, what you can do is actually go, okay, well, here comes a G chord. So where can I see a G? And again, don't panic that you got to know every position, but just find something. Where do you see a G? Oh, I got a G here. Okay, well, that's okay. Let's start there. We've got that, or that we could do. But do you see something else under there? Is there a scale that a structure, right? A skeleton underneath there that we can attach back to? because there's got to be some sort of reinforcement. That's why it's always nice to build these things over a position that you already know in terms of the scale, because you can always fall back on that as you're playing. So that's how you would approach playing major triads or arpeggios across the guitar in whatever chord you want. Next time on the Steve Stine Guitar Podcast. Hey, Steve Stine here. Thank you so much for joining me. This lesson, what we're going to be doing is expanding the idea of harmonic minor. Now, generally, when we look at harmonic minor, all we're doing is taking a natural minor scale and we're expanding it by raising the seventh, right? So if I did this. But that raised seventh is really powerful. Okay, now where can you use harmonic minor? That's always the question. Well, you can use it, obviously, if you ever are in a situation where you're in a minor key, you're using A minor, and let's say we're really in the key of C, right, which gives us the no sharps, no flats. If we look at the relative minor to C major, it puts us in A minor, which would give us an A minor, and a G major, and an F major, and an E minor. Okay? When we take that E minor chord and we turn that into an E major chord is oftentimes where you see a typical harmonic minor kind of sound. But when you're playing hard rock or power chords or things like that, what I do is I tend to use it quite a bit in general. And I have another lesson that you can find that talks more about harmonic minor itself. And so you can watch that and kind of get a better idea of it. But what I want to do now is I want to expand that idea of the harmonic minor by introducing you to a couple of other ideas. Hey, Steve Stine here from GuitarZoom.com, and thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, can I ask you a favor? Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Your feedback means more to me than you'll ever know. And be sure to check out my YouTube channels where you'll find over 1,000 videos to help you with your guitar playing. Thanks again for listening. Stay positive, keep playing, and keep having fun.
If you'd like some help with your guitar playing but you're not sure how to get started, go to GuitarZoom.com and look for the Help Me Choose survey. By answering a few simple questions, you'll get Steve's personal recommendation of the perfect course for you. All this and more is available for you at GuitarZoom.com.